G'day, punters. Welcome to the first episode of The Weigh-In. We're joined by legendary race caller Luke Marlow, who's off to call bull-eye races tonight. Welcome, Luke.
I'll feel like a legend at Bull-Eye Greyhounds tonight, BJ. Hi to you, and good to be a part of the show. I don't know about this legendary tag, though. I don't really live up to that, but we'll try and find a few future winners anyway.
That's it, mate. That's what this show's all about. We're going to go through the races from Saturday, massive all-age stakes day, and we're going to kick it off with the Vale Neville Layt Highway in the first. What did you think about the race, mate? Pretty awful fall. Huey fell on Rothenberg, who had to be unfortunately put down after the race. Bad fall. What did you think about Huey?
Yeah, look, I'm glad Huey's okay, and terrible luck for connections with Rothenberg. I think that I read the stewards report. I think they've handled it really well, BJ. It's really good reading, actually, if you have time to check out the stewards report on the incident. It's really well explained. I think Huey, he was anticipating a run inside James McDonald, who rode the winner a head start. And James actually got suspended because he was coming out and he got Andrew Adkins on the Snooperstar, and then he corrected once he realised Andrew was there. And when he did correct, Huey to his inside was put onto heels. I think Huey was anticipating a run appearing on Rothenberg inside of a head start. That didn't eventuate, and obviously the fall happened. Thankfully, he's okay. I had my heart in my mouth with my good friend Andrew Adkins on the Snooperstar. I mean, geez, he's gone over the top of Huey there on Rothenberg, and he's had enough bad luck over the last few years with falls. So personally, that was a bit of a concern for me. But on the winner, I thought it went quite well, Blake. A head start, obviously he had to be checked halfway down the straight and did a good job. See no reason it couldn't win again. The favourite Ceasefire was a bit disappointing there. I don't think he ran the 1200. Yeah,
the favourite Ceasefire was 1,000 metres to 1,200 metres. That was the concern leading into the race. The head start was really good. Come through a strong class one. James was held up for a few strides anyway, and he sprinted really well. Rothenberg, I didn't know what Huey was up to there. He was sort of easing over heels, and I think that he was looking to go for that same run that sort of James got until he clipped heels and came down. But that looked a terrible fall, but I'm glad Huey's all right. Everybody's okay. I feel for Joey Cleary. That horse has been a really good horse to Joe, and it's unfortunate that he had to be put down.
Do you know what? I think he would have won.
I think he was really travelling as well. I think he was really going to run into space there and find the line really well. But unfortunately, he is no more. But the good thing is that Huey's all right. That's the main thing there.
Before we move on, I'll give you one horse to follow out of that race. Katgully Red was pretty good, I thought. He got beat 4.4 lengths, but he drew 13. He's come back well this preparation, this horse. Only second up. He was very wide the trip. And if he draws a better barrier next start, I think he can improve in a similar race. So I'll be following it out of that highway, Katgully Red. But as far as highways go, I think probably middle of the range as far as strength of the whole field here.
Yeah, they went about 8 lengths slower than the Hallmark. The last 600 was a lot slower than that Hallmark, but that's expected. Katgully Red bring that benchmark form, which is always good for highways. I wouldn't have anything against following him into the future. The JHB Car Stakes, 1,400 metres, looked a really even race on paper, and that's sort of how it played out. Kiku missed the start. What did you think about that, mate?
Yeah, not good for her because they didn't go fast from that point. I sort of thought with the map being really slow that she might be able to take a position. I just think once she was back there and being a mile back to 1,400 metres, she was always up against it. She did run really good splits between the 800 and 400, but she just had too much to do from back there. It was a perfect ride on the winner. All Hallows Eve from Jamie Carr drew 1, which I for some reason on the day I didn't jerry, but when reviewing the meeting, I really feel it was an advantage to be on the fence or close to it, because the first 3 horses across the line in this second race, they all raced on the rail. So I think it was a bit advantageous to be in there. I don't think there's much between all of these fillies. I mean, really, but All Hallows Eve just got all the breaks, and John O'Shea's stable's flying. I wouldn't stack Kiku. I don't know where she goes. She's had 4 runs this prep, but I think she's a horse that could do good things even in the spring, BJ.
100%. I think I didn't think there was much between him doing the form. I do think that Kiku's probably the best horse going forward, but this race was run really slowly. They sort of sprinted home. She got out the back and she had too much to do. But in a fast run race, I would suggest that she's the horse to follow. Moving on to the Frank Packer Plate. This wasn't a bad result for you, mate. I was listening to Punters Panel on Friday morning, and you said you were going to have a peanut each way on Senor Toba.
Yeah, I did have a peanut. I wish I had more. I wish I had a coconut on.
It was good fun, mate. $81 into, I think he started about 21, something like that.
Yeah. You know what? For me, I just couldn't find Lions Raw. So I was just looking for other horses. High Supremacy, I definitely had as my primary result in the race. And I thought he was really good. He was following the roughie Call Me Mo, and he just got flushed out mid-race. And I thought his run was excellent. But yeah, Senor Toba was just well ridden by Huey. The reason I found it was I thought on the Kensington resuming, it was down in the worst part of the track on that heavy 8. And I just didn't mind it through the line. And when Waller steps a horse 14 to 2,000 metres and books Bowman, I mean, there was just enough ticks for me to have a little spec there at the 50s. So yeah, it was a nice result for myself. And I think it's a horse that could go to Queensland and possibly contest a Queensland Derby, BJ. I mean, he's just so strong through the line again there, and I see no reason he can't go to a race like that and be very competitive.
100%. Why not? Second up to 1.25 miles. He's got to have improvement to come. What do you think about the ride on Quay Quay?
I thought the tactics were all wrong. I can't blame Craig Williams, but Dave Stanley and I on our program on Racing HQ interviewed Matt Kamani this week, and he just wanted to try something different and ride him back off the speed. I just don't think it was probably the race to do it, where there didn't look a lot of speed on paper. So Craig Williams recommended the ultimate gear change for him. A bit like yourself, BJ, probably wouldn't go astray. But it just was ugly, wasn't it?
It was really ugly. The poor horse, he's going to lose his balls now. But it was just the wrong race to do it, I would suggest. It looked like a race with no speed. He looked an obvious leader. It was a good chance for them to take control of that race. It was he'd had one run less under his belt than other horses like Lions Raw leading into the Derby. So I sort of thought that he had a touch more improvement in him, and he just travelled so well in that Derby up until that furlong mark when he sort of he started to feel the pinch late. And I sort of thought coming back to 1.25 miles, if he took control of the race, he was going to be really hard to beat, but it wasn't to be. He got out the back. He pulled really badly. I just think the tactics were all wrong, and definitely I'm with you that you couldn't blame Craig Williams for that ride. Your best of the day was in the 4th race, the JRA Plates. Zaaki, you thought he was a good thing, and he looked a good thing 400 metres out. But what did you think of that effort, mate?
I thought he went really well, Blakey. I was disappointed to not collect because, as you said, I did back Zaaki. He was following Polly Gray and just coming to the turn. That horse wasn't really taking him anywhere, and J-Mac had to pop out. He was 4 wide around the turn. He had to do that little bit of work between sort of the 700 and 400, and I think as a result, that's why he just peaked a little bit late. Pars of Glory was well ridden by Rachel King, just got all the breaks down on the inside. Again, another horse that raced on the rail, and he was very good. He was back in distance, so he's always going to be really tough. So I thought he went really well. But Zaaki, I'd probably be keen to follow him going up to Queensland for a race like the Hollandale or Doomben Cup. I think he's a horse on the rise, and with a bit more luck in running, he could have won that race. But kudos to King on Pars of Glory. It was a lovely, well-judged ride on him.
Yeah, no doubt that Zaaki's a horse to follow. He's now put together 2 really good Australian runs. He was sensational in that Doncaster, and then he's come out. He sort of just peaked on his effort there, second up to 1.25 miles, and he was giving the winner 6 kilos. I thought the winner did a good job coming back from 2,600 metres to 2,000 metres, as you said, considering they got home in 2 lengths faster than the pack of Plate. I think that the horse to follow out of the race, I think that this horse might be over the odds next start. I think Zeyrek might be a nice stayer for the future. He just needed a bit of room sooner, and he really didn't finish off his race, but he was sort of only second up. He's a horse that can get benefit out of that, and there's a race in him in the future. What did you think about his run, mate?
Yeah, I agree. I thought he went okay. He was looking to come out, Barry, and just roll back to the inside. I think he had his chance, but I can see your point that he might have been a little bit flat second up too. He was only beaten 2.5 lengths, so couldn't bag him, BJ. And these imports, they always improve with a bit of racing. The only other thing I'd add about Zaaki is he's never won past 1,700, and he's now 6 starts at 2,000 and winless, but he has placed in all of those. So whether or not that's just his absolute max trip or what, I'm not sure, but I still think he runs it okay.
The Hallmark Stakes, they went 2 lengths faster than Lost and Running in the last race. Big go on Splintex, $15 to $4.60 favourite. Did you find him?
No, I didn't. I know some smart judges out there did. I think when Alpha Oro came out of the race, it changed the whole dynamic because it looked the sole leader. And once it came out, well, Splintex, it was a lovely ride from Par. I haven't been able to catch Joshy Par in the last month or so. Harmony Rose in the binary, I'm still a bit sick over, but gee, this was a beautiful steer. He just dominated the race from outside the lead. He didn't force the issue and go up there and annoy Easy Eddie. He just sat back at its quarters, and that was the difference in the end. I had something on Victorum here. I thought he went really well. He was down the outside there, coming off that cardiac arrhythmia, and he could go to Queensland and be competitive. I'd have to be very forgiving of 11:11. He was just cast from that awkward draw, 3 wide, no cover, and I thought he stuck on very well to be beaten 2.2 lengths. But well done to the Smarties on Splintex. There are a few that landed some good bets there, and I probably made a mistake in that race, not finding something that raced up on the speed. Victoria just had too much to do. But what about you, BJ? Did you back Splintex?
I was disappointed. I wasn't one of those smarties, but going back through them, I could have found him. There was 2 horses that came in with real Group 1 form, and it was 11:11 and Splintex. One of them went up $15. The other one went up $3.20 earlier in the week. So you definitely could have found Splintex. Unfortunately, I didn't find him. I didn't think there was much between them. I think 11:11 didn't have his chance. He was 3 deep on the speed. I think Roheron was a bit stiff. He really didn't get a crack at him until late. He looked to be going okay, and he's only been beaten 2.5 lengths. But he's one of those sort of horses that always seems to run into trouble. So my horses to follow out of that race, probably 11:11 and Roheron. I had something on Outback Barbie. She sort of stepped away a little bit lower than I expected. She was okay, and there was a bit of money for her. I think I took $26 and she started $11. So that was a good bet, but doesn't pay running 4th.
Just on Roheron too, you'll have to wait a little bit to back him because I think he bled out of that race. Yeah, he did. So I've just got the steward's report print out here. And,
3 months.
both nostrils, so 3 months. But he was a little bit unlucky. And these horses, they can come back from that sort of setback, particularly when you're with a good trainer like James Cummings. And he's very good fresh too. So first up of a bleed, BJ. Sometimes it's not a bad formula. Horses, it's not a bad formula. So could be a little horse to follow there, but down the track perhaps.
Beautiful. Next up, the first Group 1 of the day, the Champagne Stakes. Only 1,600 metres on the day. Enemo, Form Frank, Captivant, and Halal. What did you think, mate?
What about the go for Port Louis? It was
huge. It was incredible. $34, and he started second favourite. Third favourite, $5. Massive go.
Unbelievable. And a bit unlucky too. Huey got a stretch for the manner in which he pushed out at the halfway point of the straight there. He came out inside of Gin Martini, and there was a severe bump there, so he copped a little bit of a suspension. I thought, went very well, Port Louis. He's going to be a nice 3-year-old, but I mean, the ride won this race. J-Mac on Captivant, it was just the grouse. He just navigated a passage few beautifully near the inside, saving ground. And I think that was the difference. Halal was given every chance by Tommy, but he had to come a bit wider to secure clear running in the straight. And I think that considering Captivant had the better run, he was able to turn the tables on Halal, who he, of course, beat in the sires. Converge was honest. I've been there, ran a race at odds. I tell you, one horse I'll be following as a 3-year-old out of this, BJ, is Gin Martini. I think she's going to be a really nice stayer. She's not there yet as far as her physique. She's got a bit of maturing to do, but with John Sargent, I wouldn't be surprised if she develops into an Oaks filly down the track as a 3-year-old. I thought her run was pretty good after that check at the 250.
Have you spoke to John? Is she headed up to Queensland next, or will she go for a spell? Do you know?
I don't know for sure, but I think that might do her for this preparation. I'll just have a click on her name here and see if she is spelling. Riser have her listed as spelling already, so she's gone out, and we'll see her back, I suppose, in the spring as a 3-year-old.
Yeah, nice. Captivant, you're right about him. Terrific ride, James. Just saved the ground. That was the difference, the ride between James and Tommy. Tommy did nothing on his mount. He gave him absolutely every possible, but he was just beaten by a better ride by James. That Fernhill form stood up. Converge ran well. Reese's me dad ran well. Port Louis, that was a sensational go. The question mark on him, I was keen to sort of have something on him earlier in the week at that $34. I missed it. And I kept letting him go, and he ended up starting $5. So I was a little bit nervous leading into the race, but he was 1,200 meters to a mile, and he's done a terrific job getting Snag out in the back and running on. So he might be a real 3-year-old of the spring.
Agreed.
The horse that beat him at Canterbury, $1 Billion Babies, in tomorrow, I would suggest it on the Kensington. Is the Kensington track tomorrow? Where's tomorrow? Warwick Farm in the second race. $1 Billion Baby.
Yep. Bit of money for it already too. Oh no, it's 260 unchanged there. Race 2 at Warwick Farm on Wednesday.
That form looks pretty strong now.
Yeah, it does. Interesting first starter there too. Bella Rouge, that second favourite, but that's a chat for or another topic. But not a bad meeting tomorrow at the farm, BJ. You'll find a winner or two there for your followers.
Oh, I hope so, mate. I haven't really got stuck into it yet, but I did notice her in. She's going to be hard to beat. They were going to take it to Melbourne, I think, on the weekend, but they scratched in favour for this race. Yeah,
you're right.
So one for the followers. All-age stakes. Colding getting back onto a dry track. He was too good for Savatiano.
He was, the gun. Put him in the gun spot, and he was too good. Colding back on top of the ground, I think, was the key for him. He loves dry tracks, Colding. Anything worse than a soft 5, he doesn't really go. On our punters panel on Friday, a few of the boys made a really good case for him, and I think Munsey backed him. So well done to him. I think Savatiano would have won if Tagaloa just took her 50 metres further around the turn. She was sitting in the 1-1. Tagaloa was struggling at the time, and Huey had to pop out and expose her maybe that fraction earlier than he wanted to, but she still had every hope. That's nitpicking. Cascadian, he ran third. He had to check a few times in the straight, but his run was very good. You could argue maybe with clear running at the top of the straight, he might have won, but that's being very nitpicky. Prague's airborne.
Prague's flying. He might go to Queensland now and be a chance in a Stradbroke.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew Adkins is ringing me, but we'll brush him for now. He is a horse I'm really looking at. He always does that, Adkins. Whenever I'm on radio or anything, he's always ringing.
I actually ran into him yesterday. He was going to Bix Cafe with Luke McDonald.
Was he?
Yeah, he was. Those two. He left you out of that, did he?
Yeah, brush me again, mate. I'm on the out of there, I think. But McDonald, he's under lock and key with the missus too, a bit like myself. So we don't see much of each other. Yeah, we're all under the thumb. But getting back to Prague, I'd be keen to back him in a Stradbroke. He had the blindfold on first time there at the weekend, and he jumped better. So good signs for him going towards Queensland. Mars Crusader was great. Just the barrier killed his chances. He couldn't have been anywhere else than where he was. I backed him all in, hoping he'd draw a marble, and I got so barrier 12.
The barrier beat him. He just drew 12. It was always going to be awkward for him. It was either going to be 3 deep with cover, or he was going to be out back last. And potentially with him missing the start most of the time, he was always going to sort of be right out the back. I was really keen on Savatiano. I agree that if Tagaloa takes her a little bit further into the race, she probably wins. She was 7 weeks between runs, so you always knew that if she got into a dogfight, she was going to be a touch vulnerable late. And she ran into the wrong horse. Colding had the perfect run. Great ride by Abdullah. Saved a bit of ground. Sprinted. She travelled better than him, but he outfought her late. And I agree that Cascadian was probably a bit stiff. If you could feel unlucky if you backed him, he probably should have won.
Yep, I agree.
Absolutely flying. The last 2 races are benchmarks, but both of them very strong benchmarks and races we can sort of follow into the Queensland Racing Carnival, because plenty of these horses are going to be heading up there. The next race was the Benchmark 100. They went 5.5 lengths slower than the All Age Stakes, which is pretty good considering that's a Group 1. Rocker Clock got over the top of Nudge. There were plenty of people on Nudge. She was easy to like.
I was one of those people. I think they slowed up a lot mid-race, didn't they? And down the side, and the field really bunched up. There were a few that had traffic problems. Brandenburg still isn't out, unfortunately for him. But I think second up as a gelding there, he showed that he's back in form, and I could follow him. I was on Nudge and Royal Celebration here, so it was a bit of a sick race for me. They'd finished second and third. I think Royal Celebration should have won. He was stiff because when Bottega started to pull back and take a sit in the 1-1, he went back in the lap of Arapaho, and Royal Celebration was following Arapaho at the time. And Andy had to pop 3 wide where he wouldn't have wanted to, just because those horses come back in his face. And then he was exposed and he was 4 wide turning. I think the horse is absolutely flying, and I'll be backing it anywhere it goes next start, Royal Celebration. I'm going to drop off Nudge. I don't know. She's one of those that she keeps running a place, but it doesn't win. So she can win without me next start. And I thought Lure Me In was very good too, Blake. He was very good resuming there, and there's a win in him somewhere. But the horses I'll mainly be following out of the race are Royal Celebration and Lure Me In.
Yeah, I agree. There's a few horses to follow out of the race. Nudge, I would suggest that the market's found her now. She was really good at her first 2 back from a spell, and then she looked to be peaking third up, and she almost started favourite. Rocker Clock was well liked really late in the market.
It was heavily backed.
Good. I agree. Royal Celebration did not have every hope. He was 3 and 4 deep, got flushed out early and ran terrific. He was unlucky first up. He didn't get a crack at them, and I agree. He's a horse to follow. Lure Me In was terrific. I was going to mention him. He got back, ran on really well first up. I think he's a different horse these days. He's sort of gone to a different level in the last season, I'd suggest, and he's going to be looking for 1.25 miles now. I thought one who we might get good odds about next start, Brandenburg, Complete Excuse.
Yeah,
he never got a crack at him. So they're the 3 that I would be following out of the race: Royal Celebration, Lure Me In, and Brandenburg. We might get 50-1 about Brandenburg, but I'd suggest a few people would have seen it. But hopefully he doesn't go to a race like the Stradbroke. If he can find another benchmark race, he's going to be super hard to beat, or just maybe a listed Group 3 set weight, something like that. He's going to be hard to beat. The last race, terrific race, Lost and Running. He was outstanding, had to be one of the wins of the day. They've gone 2 lengths outside of the Hallmark Stakes, which was won by Splintex. With his head on his chest, how good did he go?
He went bloody good. And he's a serious horse. I think 1,200 isn't the bottom of him either. This horse will run 1,400. I think Lost and Running. There's a race for him, the old Luskin Star, which used to be at Scone. It's at Rose Hill Saturday week. I think he'll probably go there if he pulls up well over 1,300 metres. And yeah, he's got a high ceiling. I mean, some people are already saying he might be an Everest horse, which they might be right. He looks really, really good, Blakey, and I was happy he won. A horse I've been following is Flat Heaven, the second horse, and he went fantastic here. Bjorn Baker has a knack of these horses. They get deeper into a preparation and they just hold form and even go better. So he's now 5th up next time, and I can entertain backing him. I'm not really interested in anything else out of the race other than the top 2, and Lost and Running is he's announced himself as a genuine group horse, I think.
Yeah, he went super. James went forward on him. The question mark was over him running 1,200 metres, but he definitely put that to bed. No problems with him getting out to 1,400 metres. And I heard John O'Shea sort of say that he thinks he's going to be a 1,400 metre miler eventually. Yep. And if he does run a mile, he's going to be a real serious horse. Not sure about the Everest at this stage. Benchmark 88 to an Everest is a big jump up in class, but potentially the sky's the limit for him. Flat Haven, I agree with you. He's a horse to follow. He only put in that one poor run in Australia. I think that was at Canberra. All his runs outside of that have been really good. So there's a race for him. Horse to follow. What's your horse to follow out of the meeting?
I'll give you Prague out of the all-age stakes. I think if anything he goes to in Queensland over the Brisbane Winter Racing Carnival, he'll be highly competitive. So, it could be a Kingsford Smith into the Stradbroke type horse, Blakey. So, I'll give you Prague.
Prague from Luke Marlow. If anybody's interested, I reckon the horse to follow out of the meetings lure me in. I think there's a race for him in the near future, maybe even second up over 1,800 metres to 1.25 miles. Did you watch the races on the Kensington track yesterday?
I was actually at the football. I was at the SCG, so watching the Dragons play the Roosters, and I haven't caught up with the videos there yet, but I did see Marway lead by about 10 lengths and win.
Yeah, he went super, Josh Parr. Yeah, he was leading by 10 lengths. The second horse, that horse of Robert and Luke Price's, Count de Rupee, he went very well.
Nice horse.
Chasing him home. Showed a good turn of foot to get out after him. He did a terrific job, and they put a gap on the third horse. I thought Legay Soleil was very unlucky in the last.
I have seen that because I did back her, and I think she probably should have won, but that's all part of it, isn't it? It's all character building.
That's what happens when you back markers. But she'll go to Queensland now and she'll find a race that she's going to be hard to beat. What about the Seagulls? How good did they go yesterday? Did you watch any of that?
I actually backed Turbo to score, and after he set up the first two tries, I thought, gee, surely you got to cross the stripe for yourself also. And mate, I know you're a mad Seagull, and he's made a massive difference to that team. He's an absolute freak.
He is a freak. I would say that the best fullback in the game, but I know a lot of Roosters supporters might oppose that opinion. I did read an article this morning about the possibility of DCE going to the Broncos.
We need something, anything. How bad are we?
You guys are not going very well. You need, you've lost Dearden. If you could sign a bloke like Cherry Evans, it would definitely be good. I don't want him to go. I want him to be a Seagull for life.
No, of course. I don't know what they're doing up there. You're letting David Fafita go. He's probably the most damaging forward in the comp. Dearden's out the door. Reece Walsh. It's a frustrating time to be a Broncos fan. So I might just jump ship and support the Raiders or something.
Right. You might want to jump on the Seagull, how they've gone the last 2 weeks.
I'm not going that bad, mate. I'm not a fan. We've had plenty of blues over the years about Manly.
100%. Well, the Broncos are my second team. Hopefully they can get back on track. Thanks for joining us. Good luck tonight at Bulleye. Hopefully you can find a winner.
Yeah, let's hope so. Should be a good night down there, Blakey. Be a big crowd in, so we'll enjoy it.
Thanks, mate. You're a legend.